Good morning. It's Tuesday. That means it's laundry day in the NFL before the 49ers embark on a critical two-game road trip. So I'm just kind of resettling in, getting ready to head up to Seattle, and then head across country to Cincinnati. And the 49ers will try to win at least one of the next two games. Obviously, two of two would be preferred. By the way, a little news. The Sunday game at Cincinnati has been flexed not to Sunday night football, but out of that early body clock start. So the 49ers will now start kickoff against the Bengals at 1:25 Pacific time on CBS. That game had originally been slated for 10 a.m. Pacific time, I believe, on Fox. So that is good news for the 49ers. I know some fans had wanted them to be flexed into Sunday night football instead of Bears Packers. But that would have been a really late game. That would have been 8 p.m. Eastern time. Just from selfish purposes, I didn't want to have to be writing at like 2 a.m. after that game Eastern time. This way, at least I get to go to bed at a decent hour in Cincinnati, and I don't have to wake up too early given all the jet lag. So 4:25 p.m. It's going to be a night game, really, right? It'll be dark for most of that one against the Bengals. Should be a good atmosphere at Paul Brown Stadium. But first, the 49ers have the Seahawks this week, and obviously, before that happens, we have to have our weekly quarterback discussion. We have to talk about Jimmy Garoppolo, right? And Trey Lance, because there's been some new information on that front. And it's been provided by Kyle Shanahan himself. This is Tim Kawakami's article. He's one of my colleagues at The Athletic, does a good job covering the 49ers. So I'm putting Tim's article up there on the screen. And I think that I'm also going to share the link to Tim's article right here in the comments section so that everybody can go and check it out, because I do believe that it's given us a little bit more insight into what Kyle Shanahan is thinking exactly in regards to Trey Lance's development. Because as everybody should know by now, and I discussed this in an earlier video, so that means you should be a subscriber to this YouTube channel by now. But my most recent video has a lot of views because I hope that it really boiled down a lot of the confusion and the misinformation about the 49ers quarterback situation with Garoppolo and Lance. And I think that it simplified it and helped people understand what the 49ers are actually thinking versus what clickbaiters want them to think about the quarterback situation. So now with Tim adding some more information with this article that I've posted, we can truly see how Kyle Shanahan's thought process has evolved throughout the entire saga. So the main truth, as I established in that previous video, is that Lance never had a legitimate chance to start this year. It was Garoppolo QB1, and that goes all the way back to pre-trade. The 49ers had their sights set on Trey Lance. They traded up to grab Trey Lance at number 3, but because of the lack of experience, it was Garoppolo's job from start to finish unless he got hurt. And obviously, he got hurt once so far this year. And Trey Lance played for 6 quarters and started a game against Arizona. But the thought that Trey Lance somehow was competing with him to grab the starting spot in training camp or would usurp him without looking back after Jimmy Garoppolo got hurt is completely and patently false. That was never going to happen. If you understand football, you understand that one does not just walk into the National Football League from the FCS after virtually not having played for an entire year. One does not just do that and grab the starting quarterback spot. There's a reason why the 49ers budgeted for Garoppolo, and it's because it's his job in 2021. However, Kyle Shanahan's initial plan was to work Trey Lance into the mix because A, Trey Lance's athleticism could expand the ceiling of the 49ers offense at specific parts of the field, and B, doing so might help speed up Trey Lance's development by giving him real game reps. Well, as you've noticed over the past 6 weeks, this hasn't happened, even though Shanahan tried to make it work late in the preseason, tried to make it work with specific Trey Lance packages in training camp, and tried to make it work early in the season. We haven't seen Trey over the course of the past 6 weeks outside of garbage time. So there are a few reasons as to why, but Kyle Shanahan finally spoke about it at length yesterday on Monday on the conference call. And that's what Tim wrote about in this piece. So make sure you go check it out. It boils down to Kyle Shanahan saying that I did not. I'm paraphrasing Kyle Shanahan here. He said, "I did not expect defenses to throw me as a play caller so far out of rhythm whenever I inserted Trey Lance as the quarterback." So, because Trey's skill set is so different than Jimmy Garoppolo's, defenses would completely change when Trey Lance came into the game for his package plays, one or two plays. And because of that, Kyle Shanahan is a chess player, right? When he calls plays, he likes to read what his opposition is doing, and then he likes to set up a play or a series of plays, and he likes to react to the defensive coordinator's play calling to deliver his own kind of checkmate play down the road. He was never able to get into that prolonged rhythm when Trey Lance came in because Trey Lance would only come in for specific package situations. And it was really hard for the 49ers to set something up through with Garoppolo's plays for Trey Lance because they're totally different quarterbacks and defensive box counts would change drastically. It would be a night and day difference between when Garoppolo was in and when Lance was in. Now, this is not to say that the Lance package is completely dead. There might be points of this season moving forward, especially as we move closer and closer into crunch time, in which Kyle Shanahan will want to set up that drastically different box count to mix something up. And in that case, he'll thrust Trey Lance in there and the dream of the two quarterback system won't be dead. But it's been much more clumsy and much more difficult for Kyle Shanahan to reconcile the value of this system in his head up to this point because of the complications that it presents to his multi-step thinking as a play caller. He thought that it would be a little bit more seamless. It certainly hasn't been. And, this coincides with the other truth that we discussed the other week. The reason that it hasn't been seamless is because there's no obvious place in which to insert Trey Lance to become the 49ers quarterback that maximizes their efficiency on any particular down and distance. Leaving training camp, it was apparent that Trey Lance might be the 49ers' best option in the red zone. That was the specific spot where Kyle Shanahan would be able to insert Trey Lance, maximize his offensive efficiency, allow his rookie to get his feet wet, and be happy with the two quarterback system. However, since then, mostly under Jimmy Garoppolo, the 49ers have posted a historically good red zone touchdown rate of 77.4%. So if Jimmy Garoppolo is excelling in the red zone, that eliminates the first logical spot of the field where the 49ers could have inserted Trey Lance. Hence, Kyle Shanahan doesn't have a rhythmically good spot to logically disrupt his offenses and his play calling rhythmic flow, right? It was supposed to be the red zone, but Jimmy Garoppolo's excelling there. So that makes it a lot harder. So as things stand, Trey Lance right now is learning on the scout team. And there's nothing wrong with that, given how raw he was. And there's nothing wrong with that since Jimmy Garoppolo is playing so well right now. Jimmy Garoppolo has been the most efficient quarterback in football this season. If you don't believe me, just take a look at this. We're going to go unadjusted EPA per play right there. Here we go. This expected points added per play. This is a much more sophisticated way of tracking how a quarterback is doing than raw yardage or completion percentage. This incorporates everything. And it's going to give a quarterback more value for throwing the ball and completing an 8-yard gain on 3rd and 6 than completing a 4-yard gain on 3rd and 6, right? And needing to punt the ball right after that. Expected points added is a sophisticated way of accounting for efficiency through quarterback scrambles, lack of efficiency through sacks, interceptions, touchdown passes, you name it. Red zone performance, all that is going to fall under this umbrella. So this is expected points added per quarterback dropback. So it accounts for everything except for handoffs. And, even the handoffs, the quarterback has responsibility of getting the team in the correct play at the line of scrimmage. And we've seen Jimmy Garoppolo audible into productive running plays this year, most recently Deebo Samuel's touchdown run. against the Minnesota Vikings. But expected points added per dropback, you have Garoppolo, Rodgers, Murray, Bridgewater having a surprisingly good season. And the former leader right here, Matt Stafford, down to number 5 because Matt Stafford's been really struggling. Over the past 5 weeks, Jimmy Garoppolo obviously is still number 1. And a guy like Matt Stafford is way down at number 27. Matt Stafford's actually having a negative expected point impact per snap over the past 5 weeks. He hasn't been good. Look who's even worse than Matt Stafford. I have to erase this so you can see Jared Goff. Jared Goff is last over the past 5 weeks. Stafford is 27th. Russell Wilson, who the 49ers faced this week, is number 29. So the past 5 weeks haven't been good for some of these quarterbacks that are somehow, either now or in the past associated with the NFC West. But if you look at the whole season, this is full season again, Jimmy Garoppolo has indeed been the most efficient quarterback in football. Now, no, that doesn't mean that Garoppolo is the best QB in football. I'm not trying to say that, so don't put words into my mouth. But it also means that Garoppolo is a hell of a lot better than many people claim. Ultimately, what matters is how efficient Garoppolo is in the context of Kyle Shanahan's offense. And boom, there you have it. In the context of Kyle Shanahan's offense, Jimmy Garoppolo has been the most efficient quarterback in football. End of story. And this is exactly what the 49ers want while Trey Lance is developing behind the scenes. The goal was to get a good year out of Jimmy Garoppolo. The 49ers right now are getting it. He was up and down throughout the first, 7 weeks of the season. But ever since the return to Chicago, ever since I published a piece about what seemed to be a Jimmy Garoppolo regression, what was a Jimmy Garoppolo regression as far as efficiency since that 2017 season, well, ever since then, Jimmy has put together 2017 level play. And that 2017 level of play is putting the 49ers into playoff position. The whole roster, I think, is delivering better recently. And so you could have the whole chicken and egg argument, right? Is Garoppolo's play elevating the roster, or is the roster elevating Garoppolo's play? And to that, this is the line that I've been waiting to say for a while, because everybody's like, oh, Jimmy Garoppolo, he relies on his run game. Well, let me tell you what, the 49ers run game relies on Jimmy Garoppolo as much as Garoppolo relies on the run game. And that, my friends, is the sport of football. It's a team sport. Steve Young relied on his run game. Joe Montana relied on his run game. And guess what? It worked the other way around too. So you have to have both. You have to have the play caller. I mean, all three. You have to have the play caller in cohesion with the quarterback. You have to have the run game in cohesion with the quarterback. And you have to have that quarterback opening stuff up for the run game by delivering on third down. And that's where Garoppolo has been especially good on third down. All too often in kind of the incorrect analyses that we see of Jimmy Garoppolo, we see people, detractors focusing on a tree and missing the forest. Because so many people are so giddy to be like, oh, I'm going to get clicks because I could show this one play where he missed the receiver. He didn't see George Kittle. I'm going to get clicks. And it's what I call fake smart. I could be fake smart. He missed a read. So I'm going to get on the internet and I'm going to post the Jimmy Garoppolo missed a read, while ignoring the fact that all 31 other NFL quarterbacks are missing reads every single game, including Tom Brady. There's never been a game in the history of football where a quarterback has thrown over 20 times or over 10 times and not missed one open receiver. This is a chaotic sport. This is not Madden. This is not a video game. So do yourself a favor and watch the other quarterbacks. Before you go and lambaste Jimmy Garoppolo for throwing one interception over the past 5 games in, non-desperation time. I know he threw one more against the Cardinals, but in non-desperation time, he's done one pick over 5 games, and people act like that makes him a terrible quarterback. Do yourself a favor and watch what the rest of the quarterbacks around the league are doing. Matthew Stafford, who the same people who are criticizing Garoppolo right now wanted Kyle Shanahan fired for not pursuing Matthew Stafford harder. Well, Matthew Stafford has 3 pick sixes in 3 straight games. Okay, so get some perspective, people. It's absolutely embarrassing because perspective comes from this. Efficiency, it gives us a dispassionate look at how these quarterbacks are actually doing in the big picture, the forest, and not the actual tree, right? And Jimmy Garoppolo is ahead of Stafford, obviously. He's ahead of everybody right now as far as efficiency goes. So within the context of Kyle Shanahan's scheme, you can talk about high throws, you could talk about picks, you could talk about all this. Well, if it was such a persistent issue, Garoppolo wouldn't be on this spot of the chart. So people are they're so obsessed with individual flaws that they don't look at the big picture. And then the worst part is that they try to discredit what he actually does well. And they'll be like, oh, well, Elijah Mitchell just rumbled his way to that entire final drive. No, this happened before all those Elijah Mitchell runs on the final drive. This is Jimmy Garoppolo on third down from the shadow of his own goalpost. One of the most important plays of the game. Trent Sherfield, first down. Now, people always say, oh, all you talk about is Jimmy Garoppolo's release. Well, all a lot of people talk about is Kyler Murray's legs. That's his greatest asset, right? Kyler Murray can make some crazy throws while he's running around. People talk about Patrick Mahomes' ability to get rid of the ball at awkward angles. People talk about Russell Wilson's elusiveness. So why can't we talk about Jimmy Garoppolo's release? Just look at it. I mean, that's a jugs machine kind of release. Look at the body positioning as he throws the football. This is around when Jimmy Garoppolo is releasing the ball. Alex Mack has been driven into his lap. Kyle Juszczyk, just to the right, is desperately trying to block, I think, Eric Kendricks on the play. Right tackle, that's Tom Compton. He's getting beaten around the edge. The pocket is collapsing on Jimmy Garoppolo on a third and obvious passing situation. He has no room to throw, and he has no room to get his base, yet he flicks the ball out of there accurately right there. If that ball's a little bit off, Trent Sherfield gets drilled or it's picked, and the 49ers don't pick up that first down. And guess what? If the 49ers don't pick up that first down, that drive doesn't happen. They have to punt. Minnesota might win that game. So this is a high-pressure third down throw from Jimmy Garoppolo that accentuates everything that he does well. And the 49ers need what he does well because their offensive line is not good in anchor down pass protection. Whenever you don't set up a third and short, when it's a third and 6+, the defense can pin its ears back. That defensive line can get after you, and they could rush with reckless abandon. When they rush with reckless abandon, they have momentum. Your offensive linemen don't. Your offensive linemen have to anchor down, and they have to hold the line. The 49ers are built for run blocking. Did you guys see Daniel Brunskill just sprinting in front of a play the other day? Here, I could even find it. We're on my Twitter right now. Why don't we find Daniel Brunskill sprinting out in front of right here? This is perfect. Watch Daniel Brunskill right here. That's him in front of Deebo Samuel. That's an offensive lineman at 300 pounds way in front of a play. One more time. That's awesome. That's a 40-yard dash from an offensive lineman ahead of a wide receiver. I mean, that's impressive stuff. The reason I show that play is because that's where the 49ers offensive line's strength lies. These guys are mobile, they're fast, but their weakness is a corresponding one to that. And I need to find our clip of Jimmy Garoppolo throwing again right here. The weakness, because the offensive line is a little bit lighter, because they could run so fast, lies in pass protection. They don't anchor quite as well. So it's a trade-off that the 49ers are willing to make. So watch here, defensive line and the blitzer, Kendricks, they're going to pin their ears back. They're going to come hard at the 49ers because they know that there's no threat of a run on third and long. Just watch the line here. Watch the fronts battle this one out. Right there, you see them back into Jimmy Garoppolo. They back the 49ers into the quarterback. When that's the situation, when you don't have Tampa Bay's offensive line or you don't have Green Bay's offensive line, those are two of the better offensive lines at anchoring in football, you better have a quarterback that could get the ball out quickly and can get the ball out without getting his base under him, because this is going to happen. And if Garoppolo throws an incompletion or a pick here, but just an incompletion's enough, then the Vikings have a very good chance to win this football game. It's 34-26 at the time. But he completes the third down and gets the job done. So the reason that Jimmy Garoppolo is undervalued in the context of this 49ers offense is because a short throw like that is viewed as obvious for people. It's viewed as routine by some people. There's nothing routine about that play. That's like a fadeaway shot while getting fouled, right? Except in football, it's legal to get fouled if you're the quarterback. You can get hit while you throw. And he makes the throw. And if the 49ers don't make that throw, Elijah Mitchell doesn't make the runs later in that drive. Kyle Juszczyk had another big catch from Jimmy Garoppolo right after that. But later in the drive, when the 49ers are grinding meat with Elijah Mitchell, that's only happening because they convert the third downs ahead of that moment. So, as much as Jimmy Garoppolo benefits and relies on the run game, which he obviously does, the run game for the 49ers is reliant on Jimmy Garoppolo making plays like this. It's a two-way symbiotic street. The quicker the people realize that, the smarter they'll be as far as football analysis goes. Right now, if you're the 49ers, you have a quarterback who is delivering plays like this at the highest efficiency clip in the league. And that's exactly what the 49ers have needed out of this 2021 season. The last 5 games have been even better. I mean, just be thankful you don't have Stafford, Wilson, or Goff right now. You know what the biggest joke is? The people that were trying to say over the past few years that Goff is better than Jimmy Garoppolo. Well, that's obviously not the case. One more myth that I want to dispel is the Kirk Cousins, Jimmy Garoppolo debate, which should have never been one. But Garoppolo outplayed Cousins on Sunday, point blank. I mean, there's no way to argue otherwise. These are the 3 matchups between Kirk Cousins and Jimmy Garoppolo. 2018 season opener, 2019 playoffs, and then at the very bottom, you have Jimmy Garoppolo's most recent game against Cousins, which was this Sunday. Remember how bad Jimmy Garoppolo was in that 2018 opener? He threw 3 picks. Mike McGlinchey was playing right guard. Completion percentage over expectation, negative 17.6, 31 QBR. I mean, it was just ugly. Cousins was definitely better in that game, even though Cousins wasn't great. By the way, Garoppolo made a good pass to Dante Pettis in that game. That was really, there weren't many positive plays from Jimmy in that game. We'll just put it that way. Then you have the 2019 playoffs where neither quarterback was good. In fact, Garoppolo, he was about at Cousins level from the 2018 game in that game, but the 49ers dominated because of their defense and because of how bad Kirk Cousins was against an overpowering pass rush. That brought us to the grudge match, right? That brought us to this round 3 on Sunday. And the only reason I compare these 2 quarterbacks is because we know Kyle Shanahan and his history with Kirk Cousins and the possibility that Cousins would have been signed to the 49ers in 2018 had they not traded for Garoppolo, all this and all that. So it's an interesting comparison, right? Well, you look at this past Sunday, both quarterbacks are playing against compromised defenses. 49ers are not nearly as healthy as they were at the start of the season. Same thing with the Vikings. And Garoppolo had a rougher start than Kirk Cousins, obviously, through that pick on the first drive, but they play 4 quarters. So again, so many people so obsessed with looking at one interception and thinking that that's the entire story. They play 60 minutes for a reason. And over those 60 minutes, Garoppolo was efficient again. He was accurate again. Kirk Cousins was inefficient again, and he was inaccurate again for the second straight time, or really the third straight time against the 49ers. As you can see, the Cousins numbers against the 49ers have not been good. So I would just like to see fair evaluation in these situations. The same people who scream about Jimmy Garoppolo's interception at the start don't say a blip about Kirk Cousins' much worse interception to Azeez Al-Shaair later in the game. Pay attention to the other quarterbacks around the National Football League before you give an opinion that's ill-informed about what Jimmy Garoppolo is bringing the 49ers right now. Because over the past 5 weeks, it has been good play. And if they continue getting that play from Jimmy Garoppolo, well, we always wondered what the 49ers would look like in 2017 had they gotten more than 5 games with hot Jimmy Garoppolo, right? He was on fire throughout those 5 games. And the season abruptly ended after week 17 because they didn't make the playoffs because they were 1-10 before Garoppolo started. Well, now we're finally going to find out what that might look like because Garoppolo's playing good football and the 49ers still have 6 games to play. We're 5 games into this, just like we were in 2017. The efficiency clips are very similar, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun moving forward. Nobody is saying that he's the best quarterback in football, the most talented quarterback in football, but he certainly has been the most efficient. And if the 49ers can keep that up, there's going to be a lot of good stuff. I'll open this up to like 3 or 4 questions. Let's see. This is a good point. Kirk Cousins doesn't make that 3rd and 4th throw with Mack in his lap. He overthrows in a beat to avoid hits. Most quarterbacks in the league don't make that 3rd and 4th throw with Mack in their lap, which is why Garoppolo's number 1 efficiency wise. There's stuff that he's limited with. He's not mobile. That's first and foremost. His arm strength is stronger than people give him credit for. Jimmy Garoppolo's is, but his actual strength, you can't take away his actual strength, and that is that quick release and that accuracy on those throws over the middle under duress. And in this 49ers offense, where interior linemen are routinely pushed back in obvious pass blocking situations, you have to have that. There's value in that. It's not common. So I think this is a great point, and I think it's important to underscore. Cousins might make way better throws downfield, but he's not been anywhere near as efficient as Jimmy Garoppolo. So it tells you what you need to prioritize, right? Cousins might be better at some of those throws downfield, but you have to set up the throws downfield. You have to be able to throw under duress underneath. People undervalue the importance of the short game. It's not routine. You see with Russell Wilson right now. Russell Wilson's really struggling. Would you rather have that situation? Because that situation's not pretty. The Seattle fans, they want nothing more of Russell Wilson right now. I mean, they even lost the Super Bowl because Russell Wilson didn't execute the short game underneath. And I'm not saying that Russell Wilson hasn't been great throughout most of his career, but the short game is really important too. And he hasn't been that great in some of the short game stuff. So every quarterback is going to have his strengths and weaknesses. So while you acknowledge Russell Wilson's strengths, while you acknowledge his weaknesses, don't only acknowledge Jimmy Garoppolo's weaknesses. Also look at what he's bringing to this team, because that's why so many people have been wrong about what the 49ers are going to do at this quarterback position, is because they just think that Jimmy Garoppolo's another guy. He's a below average quarterback. He doesn't do anything well because they only look at the weaknesses, right? They blow the weaknesses out of proportion. They're not looking at the full picture, and they're not appreciating the difficulty of the short game. And for those just joining, the difficulty of the short game is on display here. I'm going to play this one more time. Garoppolo, Mack in his lap, Juszczyk in his lap, accurate throw on 3rd and 6. So yeah, Kirk Cousins might make better throws downfield. Not all the time, because we've seen Garoppolo make some nice ones downfield, but I didn't see him doing that. I saw him throwing with much less pressure right into Azeez Al-Shire's lap. So appreciate what you have is the moral of today's story. There's just a lot of arguing here. I don't see many questions. Okay, this is a good one. Do I think Jimmy Garoppolo's coming back next year? I don't know. And I don't think the 49ers know for sure yet either. I think that they have that option. And Trey Lance is developing, playing scout team football right now, which is valuable, obviously. If Jimmy Garoppolo leads his team to a Super Bowl again, it's going to be really hard for the 49ers to justify saying that Trey Lance is their better option to win in 2022. At this level of play, at top efficiency level of play, you can't just expect that Trey Lance will go in and not be a drop off, right? So option power is everything for the 49ers. And while it's never likely for a team to make the Super Bowl, it's not even likely that the Buccaneers make the Super Bowl this year because there's so many things that can trip them up on the way. So it's never likely for a team to go all the way. You can't really say it's likely that Garoppolo will be back, but it's definitely possible. And I don't think the 49ers will make a decision, nor should they make a decision, until they actually reach that bridge. You don't cross that bridge until you get to it. And if Garoppolo continues playing the way that he has over the past 5 games, and it's measurable by those efficiency numbers that we see right here, the 49ers will have a great decision to make, because they'll be able to sit down, evaluate exactly where Trey Lance is, and they feel that he's ready to give them title contending football in 2022, they can trade Garoppolo for a lot of assets and they can move forward with Trey Lance. But if Garoppolo clearly still, presents an efficiency advantage at the game's most important position, you don't you don't act based on what you did in the past. You act based on what's best for you at the moment. So yeah, you gave up a lot of picks for Trey Lance. You still have him in your building. He's still developing, but if Garoppolo is significantly better at that moment in time, you keep him. That might not be likely right now because, again, for Garoppolo to be that significantly better, he probably would have led the 49ers all the way to a Super Bowl. That hasn't happened yet. We don't know if that's going to happen yet, right? We don't have the answers to those questions. And the good news for the 49ers is they don't have to make a decision until that fork in the road actually comes. So that's my main point. Why don't we just sit back, enjoy the show? Because right now it's been a good show. Appreciate what you have, because Nick Mullins, CJ Beathard, they wouldn't be in this number one spot. Hell, Aaron Rodgers, Kyler Murray, Matt Stafford, Tom Brady, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Kirk Cousins, Justin Herbert, they're not in the top spot right now. Jimmy Garoppolo is doing something right to be in that top spot. And yes, he's meshing well with Kyle Shanahan's scheme. That's what you want, though. That's the goal. Your play caller and quarterback have to be on the same page. And if they're efficient, the 49ers have scored 30 plus in 4 of their last 5 games, all of which have been wins. If that productivity is there, you're happy about it. You're not focused on, the one incompletion there, the one interception here. You're focused on the forest, not the tree. And the forest right now looks good for the 49ers heading into Seattle. Guys, this is exciting news. Subscribe to the channel. Greg Papa's coming on this afternoon. Going to have a YouTube Live with Greg Papa, 49ers play-by-play voice. We're going to chop it up. We're going to start the preview 49ers Seattle, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So subscribe to the YouTube channel. Hope everybody enjoyed this video about Jimmy Garoppolo and Trey Lance. And I'll have a bigger one about Trey Lance's development coming soon as well. Maybe we'll talk a little bit about it with Greg coming up. So subscribe to the channel. That's going to be at around 3 p.m. Pacific time. Greg Papa joining the Lombardi Live YouTube channel. Everybody have a good Tuesday. Have a good lunch too. Take care.